Is Pinterest still good for traffic? So I want to address what has been going on with Pinterest. A lot of the talk around Pinterest in the last couple years, especially in the last few months, has been a little bit negative and a little alarming, a little frustrating, which is to be expected. So let's talk about what is going on in Pinterest. So first, I want to address the elephant in the room when it comes to Pinterest right now. This is some of the things that people are saying they're experiencing, that organic traffic is down, that idea pins are being super encouraged, but you can't click them to get traffic. So it kind of doesn't make sense for why anyone who wants traffic would be using an idea pin, for example. There's an emphasis on shops and shopping. So if you don't have a shop, you might feel discouraged, or if you use a lot of content marketing, you might be wondering, well, what is using the shop going to get for me? Tools like Smart Loop that, is a tool from Tailwind that used to get results, or group boards, things that we used to do are being phased out, or they just don't work the way that they used to for us. And viral pins are a thing of the past. That's something that we just don't see anymore. You used to be able to put up a pin and take off and go crazy and it'd be amazing. You get this huge traffic boost, and that's just not happening anymore. And so it's leading people to question and to start having some conclusions like Pinterest is dead, Pinterest is over, Pinterest hates bloggers, especially the bloggers and the content marketers who are really dependent on traffic are really having a hard time with the changes that are happening on Pinterest. And this is what's true. It is true that Pinterest has changed. It is true that the results that we can expect have changed. This is true of every social media platform on the planet. Even Google, like when we talk about search engines, it's the same thing. We have this spike in the beginning where everything's doing super, super amazing, and then it starts to taper off. And in that taper off, as the platform is starting to do ads and monetization, as the platform is trying to have a better user experience, all of those things that kind of like ratchet down the floodgates, that's when people start to think, oh, the platform is dead, the platform is over, there's no opportunity for me. But there are platforms that have gone through this, these growing pains, if we want to call them that, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, that have gone through this, and we still see people having a presence there today. Why? Because they still give results. They just don't give these astronomical viral results that are that all platforms do in the beginning. Right now, TikTok is going through that, right? Where everything was amazing in 2020 on TikTok and 2021, and then things are kind of starting to taper off. There's more competition. There's a whole lot of things going on with that. So this isn't something that's unnatural or unique to Pinterest. This is something that every platform has gone through. About what is the opportunity. And I believe there still is massive opportunity for traffic from Pinterest, especially with people leaving. And so, yes, Pinterest is still good for traffic. Pinterest is still good for bloggers. So let's talk about some of the alternatives that are out there, because that's what people are going to say. I'm not doing Pinterest now. And I'd love to know if you've caught yourself saying this. Drop a Y in the text chat. I'm not doing Pinterest now. I'm going to do XYZ instead. I'm going to do TikTok instead. I'm going to do Instagram instead. I'm going to focus on Google SEO instead. I'd love if you put a Y down in the comments to let me know if that has been you. Because I've heard it from so many people. So it's not unique. And it's a natural thing to think about. So let's talk about these alternatives. So we have TikTok. And I'm not saying don't do these, okay? And I'll get into what to do, but let's talk about the alternatives. So we have TikTok. They have some links, right? But you have to be really super creative with your content to get noticed. And it's a totally different type of content, and it's not really meant for driving traffic, right? It's meant for building a TikTok following. Instagram, same thing, meant for building an Instagram following, not meant for sending traffic off the platform. That's why Instagram only has one link in the profile. Now you can link in the stories, but again, you have to be producing content consistently. If you stop showing up within hours, everything grinds to a halt. So that content doesn't live on and keep producing for you years later. Facebook has openly discouraged any links that go off platform unless it's to paid content, or unless it's on paid content. So you want people to go off of Facebook? Awesome. You're going to pay for an ad, and you're going to pay a premium for an ad. This YouTube has also started discouraging outside links in the past few years. So that used to be another traffic source. I remember someone that taught a blogging course who was very successful at it. One of the tactics that he was teaching was to create YouTube videos and then have links to your blog posts in those YouTube videos. And then he stopped recommending that because it just wasn't working the same. And then Google SEO is leaving everything in Google's hands. Like, I love Google. I love Google SEO, like, for the results it can get for my business, right? I appreciate Google helping me find customers. I appreciate Google helping people in the world find my content that they're looking for. But when you only focus on Google SEO, you're leaving everything in Google's hands. And that's not immune for algorithm changes. And, just to be funny, Google it. Like, Google algorithm changes, and you will see moments in time throughout Google's history where they have made a change and it has severely and significantly impacted businesses who fully relied on Google for their traffic. So there's got to be a different take on this. So we want to keep using Pinterest because we're playing a long game. Your pins keep working for you. This is the thing that's so beautiful about Pinterest. You put a pin on Pinterest, it does not die. It continues working for you. I'm going to describe how that works in just a little bit, but unlike like Instagram, you put a post up, hours, it's dead. Facebook, you put a post up, in hours, it's dead. YouTube, you put a video up. If it does not perform in the beginning, it it's up there forever, right? But it's got a little bit of a shelf life on it. Like, it's not just going to take off. Like, it's pretty rare that it takes off years later. So pins keep working for you. Pinterest still serves search content. We don't want to forget that Pinterest is it's a social search engine. It's a visual search engine. So Pinterest built its platform on search, right? That's its whole way. It does what's called fuzzy search, which is where it doesn't give exact results all the time. It says, oh, you want taco recipes? You might also like taco salad recipes. You might also like quesadilla recipes. You might also like, this taco casserole. Like, it will put other things in there, which is really, really good for us as content creators, because we want to make sure that our things are optimized, but we don't have to depend on the user exactly knowing what they want, because Pinterest will help them discover more things that possibly are things that are related. So it's really a beautiful, like, very organic feeling process for the customer, for the user, for the pinner, the person who's searching. So Pinterest built their platform on search, and they're going to need content to fill search results, to put between ads, and in order for them to compete with Google, right? They're going to have good stuff that people can find and discover on the platform in order for them to survive. It's essential to how the platform is built. No matter that they've added idea pins or shop or any of those other things, there's still going to be content that needs to be between those pins. The other thing is that, people will say, well, Pinterest isn't the biggest search engine. Pinterest isn't, this or that. Pinterest is the 10th largest website in the world, and they have 5 billion monthly searches. So you're missing out on a big piece of the pie if you put all your eggs in the Google basket. And the other thing is, people will say, well, I'm doing Google and YouTube. Well, Google owns YouTube too. So that's still putting all your eggs in one basket. It doesn't make sense to have no presence on Pinterest at all. It makes sense to have some presence. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. So I want to go a little bit deeper on this should I just work on SEO thing, because that's one of the things that I see happening a lot is people say, I'm going to ditch Pinterest. I'm not getting the results I used to get. I'm not getting the virality. I'm not getting the huge spike in traffic after I take action. So since I'm not getting the same results I used to get, but I'm still getting results, but since I'm not getting the same results, I'm going to move to putting all my eggs in the Google SEO basket. And you guys, I do Google SEO. I have Google Search Console. I look at my Google Analytics. I use that for my business. I'm not saying not to do that. But here's the problem with just doing that alone. One of the things that's great about working Pinterest and Google SEO at the same time is that what's good for Pinterest is good for Google, and vice versa. they both want to make sure that their users are having an excellent experience. So if you're going to do something to your blog post or do something to your landing page or do something to your website that is good for Google, that's also good for Pinterest, and vice versa. If you're going to be optimizing your pins and making content that really delivers on that, and you've got email, lead magnets and email collection and all those things on your post, that's going to do great for Pinterest, that's also going to do well for Google. Okay. The thing that I love about Pinterest is that you pin something once and it lives forever. Every single moment, every single day, every single interaction that happens on that pin over its lifetime, and every day that passes, more interactions happen. Every single one of those things that happens gives Pinterest more information about the pin to help it better serve that pin to people looking for that exact search result, as well as people who are looking for similar items, similar things. Okay. So they may not know that they like taco casserole or even interested in it or that it even exists, but Pinterest will suggest that as an example if someone was searching for tacos, just as a hypothetical example. So you pin something once on Pinterest, it lives forever. Pinterest continues collecting data on it. It continues serving it to people that it thinks it will match the best. And in fact, it gets better and better because as time goes by and Pinterest has that more information about the pin and each new person that interacts with it, each new board that it's pinned to, the performance of that particular pin can only improve from there. Now, if the pin isn't optimized, if it's a poorly executed pin, then it's going to not have the best information, but it can only get better from there. Okay, so I have another question about because I got some questions that came in. Should I focus on social media platforms like TikTok? So sure, use these platforms. I'm not saying put all your eggs in the Pinterest basket, just like I'm saying don't put all your eggs in the Google only basket. The thing is to remember with any social media platform is that they will change, and the virality factor of them is going to be diminished over time because the algorithms get more sophisticated, as they're trying to improve user experience, as they become monetized with ads, that user experience becomes more important. And it just makes it harder to get noticed. And this happens on every platform. Pinterest is more searched than social media, but we're experiencing this on Pinterest as well. And so don't just think, oh, well, because TikTok is a super sexy thing right now, that it's going to be amazing. Um, you know, like it's not going to solve all your problems. It will, like, you still gotta show up on other platforms. Like there's gonna be you'll always be chasing the new platform if that's how you build momentum. You'll never be building an organic traffic machine. You're always going to be in the hamster wheel of I got to be on the sexy new platform. I got to learn all the new things. I got to master that, and then you'll have to go to the next one and to the next one. And those things are good to be on if that makes sense for your business, but you're not building an organic traffic machine. And for that, Pinterest is amazing because it doesn't expire. So don't stop using Pinterest in order to use the new social media platform. And I'm going to tell you more about what to do on Pinterest now because um, there are some things that you can be doing probably differently that you might be overlooking. One of the things that you should be doing on Pinterest right now is optimizing your Pinterest account with a Pinterest account audit. Um, and this is making sure that your boards are telling Pinterest all the information it needs to know about the pins that are on that board. And that your account, right, your profile and stuff is telling Pinterest everything that Pinterest needs to know about your account. What can people find there? I will ask people, like people come to me and say, hey, my Pinterest account isn't doing well. Can you take a look at it for me? I get clients, big clients, 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses. I don't know what's going on with my Pinterest account. Can you tell us what's happening? I go in there and I start looking at it and it's super evident they have not optimized their Pinterest account. We think that we've done it. It's just one of those things that's easy to overlook. And the reason for that is that on Pinterest, when you go to create a new board, it allows you to put in the title, but it doesn't prompt you to do any of the other stuff that will help you optimize the board. You have to go in and edit the board later to do that. And everybody forgets to do this. Like I just audited an account the other day. from a social media manager. This was her client's account. She's like, can you help me figure out what's going on with this account? And it was just like right off the bat, it wasn't optimized. And so you've got to go in and audit your account. Where are the boards missing descriptions? Where are the boards missing content? Sometimes we make a board and then we like never put anything on it. Like there's all kinds of weird stuff going on in there. And if you're at a loss for how to do a Pinterest account audit, I show detailed. We have a workshop inside of my program, Smart Pin Pro, where we walk you through that. It's available instantly and it has all the steps. But the other thing is that we have example Pinterest account audits from our members inside of the program so that you can see what that process actually looks. And these are audits that I've done for actual members and go through step by step, following what I've outlined in our Ultimate Pinterest Account Audit program. And if you are interested in getting an audit with me, you can just hit me up in Messenger here and send me a message or email us at jennifer@smartcreativesocial.com, and we can get you hooked up with doing a Pinterest account audit if you want me to audit your account for you and just tell you what to do, because sometimes that's easier than trying to figure it out on your own. The second thing to do is don't stop pinning. Okay, one of the things I see people do is they turn their focus away from Pinterest and they stop pinning. You can scale things down, right? Like if you've opted to do your pinning manually and not use a scheduler, right? A scheduler like Tailwind just makes it so much easier for you to schedule your pins. But if you're like, oh, I've got to show up and pin every day and that's really tedious and I just don't have time to do that in my business, that's okay. Scale down what you're doing on Pinterest, but continue to show up. And this is especially true if you're wanting to take some of your attention and put it on other platforms. Don't not do Pinterest. And the reason is that the pins you save today are going to bring you traffic tomorrow and for years to come. One of the complaints I see for people is that, or from people, is that all of my traffic is coming from old pins. Yeah, because the older the pin, the more information Pinterest has about how well it's going to perform. So you've got to keep putting pins on there. It's like somebody that's expecting a forest to grow, but they stopped planting trees. Like you have to continue to put pins on the platform and to feed Pinterest information. Google will keep crawling your account. You will keep crawling your site. You put new blog posts up, right? You have to show up and put new blog posts up in order for Google to have something to crawl, right? Like it doesn't just keep doing stuff if you just stop publishing altogether. Well, on Pinterest, you need to keep putting pins up. Pinterest isn't going to come to your site and seek out, oh, they wrote a new blog post, but they didn't pin it. Let me do that for you. It's not going to do that. You've got to create the pins and put them on Pinterest. But that's all you have to do. You don't have to go in and show up every single day and be like, here's my new reel video, or here's my story. You don't have to do all of that on Pinterest. You just have to put pins on there. So don't stop pinning. Like that's the biggest mistake I see people making, is they just stop. The other thing is that if you want fast traffic, like that's the thing that people are like, well, I used to get fast traffic on Pinterest. I want fast traffic again today. Because, and this has happened with every platform. We used to get tons of traffic from Facebook. I remember Facebook was amazing for my business. Amazing. My Facebook page was growing fast. I took a course on how to do it. It was great. And then that waned. And now it's that I've got to pay in order to get fast traffic. I can still get traffic, but to get fast traffic, like right now, you got to pay. And Pinterest has ads too. So pay to force your content in front of people rather than waiting for the machine to serve it up organically. If you need traffic today on something, like you're launching a course, you're launching your coaching program, you have a new product launch that's seasonal or something like that, that's when you want to pay for fast traffic, to be forced at the top of people's attention. And there's nothing wrong with that, but don't stop building the organic machine, because that is a slow and steady build, and you can have, you'll get momentum off of that. What I see happening with people is and I was actually talking with a coach the other day about this. They're so dependent on Facebook traffic and Facebook ads, and Facebook isn't giving them results, that they're now going and clamoring and saying, Jennifer, teach me Pinterest ads. I need to learn YouTube ads or Google ads or any other ads, because they never built any organic traffic machine that's building this momentum, this steady, solid momentum over years. All they did is pay for ads. So then when ads stop working, everything stops working. So you want to be building that organic traffic machine, but it's not a problem to use ads. Just use ads on things you need fast right now traffic for. Look at your analytics. Like this is number 4. Look at your analytics. What has worked? Is it just old pins, right? And so start planting new pins today so that they can grow. Look at those old pins and optimize those blog posts and landing pages using this next tip. Okay, make sure that you're getting traffic to that stuff already. Don't balk at that. Like, let's use that traffic in a better way. So tip number 5 is make sure that you give that Pinterest visitor a way to stay in communication with you by having an email sign up form or a lead magnet. If this feels overwhelming because you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I've never done this before, or oh, I have a bunch of old lead magnets and I got to like fix it up and blah. I totally get that, especially if you're a blogger, you've got 5,000 posts and you're like, you've got too many things to work on. Start with your most popular posts. What are the pins on Pinterest that are getting the most traffic to your site? Start with those posts, okay? So you can just start with one. You don't have to start with a ton, just start with one. And then once people get the lead magnet, make sure you're sending them emails after they sign up. Don't just one and done it. Like, continue the conversation, send them to more posts, continue serving them, right? That's one of the things that I see people miss is they're like, well, I put a bunch of pins up and people came to my post and then nothing else really happened. And we want to take that one visit that came from Pinterest and turn it into multiple visits over a long by having a conversation and a relationship with that pinner, with that visitor by email. Okay, so we want to make sure we have email collection going on. And then number six, make sure that your pins are optimized. It's a mistake to just pin something to check off a box on the to-do list, right? Oh, I made a pin, I pinned it, I used a template, I just phoned it in. Spend the time to research keywords and to build a competitive pin for those search results, okay? So don't just say, oh, well, someone said this was an optimized pin template and it works. It's a high performing, high traffic pin template. That template might be high performing and high traffic for a food blogger, but if you're using it for your relationship coaching business, it probably won't perform at all. So you've got to optimize and make the pin competitive for the search result it's going to be in. And again, this is going to pay off for years in the future. We've got to change our expectations from I'm going to pin something, it's going to shoot up like crazy and give me amazing results. If you want that fast traffic, that's got to be paid. And I'm not saying that Pinterest is pay for play. I'm saying our expectations have to change because I was just checking out my Pinterest analytics and over the last 30 days, everything is up 13%. My traffic from Pinterest from last month to this month is up 6%. My traffic from Pinterest from last year to this year is about the same. But it's the quality of traffic. It's what I'm doing with that traffic. So I'm getting them on my email list. I'm doing more with them. So that page view from Pinterest right now is worth more to me today than it was last year because I'm getting more page views from them over time because I'm sending them emails. I'm having more discussion with them. I'm telling them, oh, here's another post to go to. Oh, here's another thing to check out. Oh, here's an affiliate product to buy. So again, this pays off for years in the future. What you are planting today is building a steady growth, a steady momentum into the future. It's not this spike and then a drop. Okay. So I just want to give you a few reminders here at the end, and then I'll open this up for Q&A if you guys have any questions. I'm going to look down at the chat to see if anybody's. It says that their address can't be found. All right, so I'll have to open this up on actual Facebook to see if you guys have any questions there. But just a few reminders before we open up for Q&A. So remember that on Pinterest, pins live forever. The pins that you save today are working for you forever. It's a mistake to write off Pinterest completely. Okay, like all the other platforms, Pinterest is going to experience a renaissance. It will be the platform that everyone overlooked. So while you are continuing to build your organic traffic machine on Pinterest, there are people that are bailing and you're going to keep going. And I've seen this happen like with email marketing. It was super not sexy for several years and I kept doing it. And then people came back and are like, oh, don't build your house on rented land and all these things. That all came out after people had written email off. The same happened with Facebook. Facebook's dead, don't use it. Instagram's dead, don't use it. Like every platform goes through this. The people that stay and continue to build momentum on that platform are poised for success when it starts to get attention again. And it will. This has happened with every single one. And except so everyone will overlook it, but you will have a solid foothold and momentum because you stayed and you worked a solid strategy. Okay, so I just don't want you to miss things because everybody's over here complaining about it. I really would like to see you take advantage of it. So hopefully my sound doesn't, let's turn the sound off. Doot, doot, doot. And let's see if we have any questions in here. I've got the comments open for questions. If you guys have any questions at all, put them down in the comment section. And if you don't have any questions live, because I did get some questions over email that I've already kind of addressed in this broadcast, then drop them in the comments and I will answer them at a later date. Like I will just answer them. You drop a comment in here a year later, I will answer it. Like we watch our comments and things here on our Facebook page. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, we also watch them over there as well. So I'd love to answer your questions if you have any questions about, is Pinterest still good for bloggers? I'm still building a solid business on Pinterest. One thing I wanted to point out as I was checking out my Google Analytics today, and Pinterest traffic has remained solid. Google traffic is down about 30% right now. So something to think about. And I've seen in the ad network that I'm in a bunch of bloggers posting about like, was there a Google update? I've seen a few people talking about that because they've seen some Google drop too. So good thing that I have Pinterest traffic because I would have really been out of luck if I was only dependent on Google or only dependent on Facebook or only dependent on my email list or just one thing. So we want to make sure that we've got diversified sources for traffic, and Pinterest is still a really, really good investment. Very little that you have to do in order to get results, and those results will continue happening for years to come. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this broadcast, but I appreciate you guys being here and watching. If you have any friends that you think would be interested in this who have been talking about Pinterest, I would love it if you shared this with them. You can either tag them down in the comments or you can hit the share button and share this on any platform. I would really appreciate that. Thank you guys for being here, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening.